I remember when I was 8, my mom took me to a seminar on memory building. The anchor asked the bunch of people a random question so that he could remember the answers in the same exact order and flaunt his memory. I was sitting somewhere in the middle of the auditorium listening to the anchor when suddenly he pointed to me and said, "Hey little boy, I got a question for you. What's your dream? What do you want to become when you grow old?" In that exact moment, I just froze, not having a definite answer for the question. I don't know what kicked in, and in the spur of the moment, I just replied, "I want to become a doctor." And that's where it all started. This is my NEET journey. How an ordinary guy from an ordinary town of Wardha with ordinary tuition classes cracked one of the most difficult entrance exams in India to be solved. How an ordinary guy reached an extraordinary college like AIIMS. This is how I cracked my NEET exam. And I will tell you my NEET journey in the form of short stories. The first story that I would like to tell you is a story depicting how ordinary I was, how my intelligence was. I remember exactly that it was the last day of class 9th and it was a parents-teacher meeting in which our results were going to be announced. As my teacher handed me my report card, I looked into the report card, and in a tiny bit of space at the end of the report card there was a column mentioning total percentage scored in class 9th, and it was written 78%. When my mom inquired how many marks that I got, I sadly and slowly replied to her that please check it yourself. When she saw the 78%, she didn't react at all. Neither did she scolded me, and nor did she console me for scoring less. We only moved back to our car where my father was sitting, and she told him that I got this many marks, and his reaction was quite similar to my mom. He just gave me a staring look and we just drove back to our home. Little did I know that this 78% was going to haunt me at the end of my class 10th also. In my class 10th, I was a real enthusiast for sports. I used to play badminton, I used to play tennis, I used to go for a swim, I used to ride my bicycle daily to school, which was 4.5 kilometers away from my home. I enjoyed school very much. I went to school every day to see my friends, meet my friends, have fun with them. But every good thing, like this one, has an end. On our farewell day, I was really emotional. It was the last day of class 10th and there was only 1 month remaining for our class 10th final exam. That day I remember that my father made me sit on a chair and told me that, "Sumit, listen, you know the 78% that you scored in class 9th? I sadly replied yes, and then he told me that he didn't care at all if I get 78%. He didn't care at all if I get even lesser than that. He didn't care at all if I failed. But he cared if I tried or not, if I gave my best or not." He told me a slok from Sanskrit. Karmanyavadhikaraste na phalechu kadachana. It roughly means that you try your best, you work hard and give your best, and don't expect results, and don't care much about the results. You just keep working on and the results will come by themselves. I felt something when he told me that, and for the next 1 month I did something that I didn't did before it. A guy who used to play sports, used to fun around a lot, was now sitting on a chair and his desk studying for the final exams of class 10. In that 1 month, I studied someday 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, and at the end of the exam, I was satisfied giving it my one of the best tries. When the results came, I got a whooping 10 CGPA, and my father told me, "See, if you work hard, you can score good." I was really happy seeing those results. Little did I know that class 10th was just a baby step in the huge journey ahead. It's completely else. If class 10th is here, class 12th is here, and NEET is beyond the sky then. All my friends had decided what they wanted to become. Some wanted to become doctors, some wanted to become engineers, some chartered accountants, some wanted to pursue a law degree, and there was one guy, me, who didn't had a clue of what to choose as a career. I hadn't studied different subjects throughout my life. Only in the last 1 month I had studied. So I didn't had any idea about what I wanted to become and what I wanted to pursue as my career in the future ahead. So I chose the best option of all, keeping all my options open, and choose physics, chemistry, biology and maths as my subjects in class 11th and 12th. and I joined an ordinary tuition classes for physics, chemistry, biology together at one place and mathematics at a separate center. The classes were just established and it was their first year of teaching, and I gave my fate in their hands. This was the start of my NEET journey. The next story that I'm going to tell you about is about the initial days of coaching, and we had a grand test for physics of 30 questions, and whoever came a topper in that test was going to be awarded 500 rupees. We had just entered in class 11th and that test was like something else, something out of the world, and I found it very difficult to solve those problems. However, the next day when the results came, I was the happiest boy in the class. I had scored 29 questions correctly out of 30. It gave me an unbreakable confidence. It gave me a boost. It made me believe that I could crack physics, I could solve physics. Physics was in my veins and I could do so good in physics that no one could stop me. I fell in love with physics at that same exact moment. I received the 500 rupees and it motivated me to study much harder. I solved hundreds of MCQs of physics daily, and studying physics didn't felt like studying at all. It was a really fun activity for me. But this story has a twist. Little did I know that the answer key of that 29 questions was a faulty one. Some approximately 1 month later, when I was reviewing the questions of the 30 question test, I found out that 6 of the answers in the answer key were wrong. And if not for the 6 answers marked wrongly in the answer key, I would have got just 23. And I would not have received the 500 rupees and I would not have got such confidence in solving physics. Even if it was a false result, it gave me such boost that now an ordinary guy who was not at all interested in physics now scored 29 out of 30, 30 out of 30 in some of the tests. The next story is about my decision to become a doctor. As I told you earlier that I was very confused about the choices of my career. Class 11th came to an end and I still didn't know about what field I was going to take. I knew one thing for sure, that I was very good in physics and very bad in biology. Even my physics teacher advised me to consider preparing for the engineering entrance exam since I had the brain for it. Similarly, my father, who is a doctor himself, advised me against taking admission in MBBS. He told me that it takes a lot to become a doctor. Hundreds of study hours, countless sleepless nights, and unbreakable will and persistence to pursue such a long course over such a long period of time. He told me that there are easier career options to earn same as a doctor. But I don't know whether it was engraved in my future, whether it was engraved in my subconscious, or whether it was other people telling me not to pursue MBBS, that a desire inside me arose, telling me that if this thing is hard, I want to do it. If the NEET exam is hard, I want to crack it and get into an MBBS college. This was a moment when I decided that I wanted to become a doctor. The next story that I'm going to tell you is in itself an inspiring one. I remember that it was the felicitation function for 2017 batch who had got their NEET results, and our tuition classes organized a felicitation function for them. Again, there was me sitting somewhere in the middle of the auditorium, and in front of me sat a guy 1 year senior to me. Throughout the function, there were many dance performances, many singing performances, and many speeches by toppers of 2017 batch. I clapped, cheered along with all others. But I observed something that latter was going to have a really significant impact in my life. The guy that I told you who was sitting in front of me, who was 1 year senior to me, was continuously looking at his phone. Initially I ignored it, but when I saw the bright screen of his phone and him staring into his phone continuously despite all other people cheering for the dance performances, all other people cheering for the singing performances and clapping on the speeches that the topper gave, this guy looked into his phone continuously as if it was the part of his own body. He was glued to this phone, and initially I thought that he was some kind of a phone addict. He might be scrolling some reels or playing a game. But as he scrolled further, I recognized the diagram that seemed familiar. It was class 12th NCERT textbook diagram. The guy who was sitting right in front of me was not scrolling through some reels or playing any game. He was reading class 12th NCERT books. Throughout this entire program, he was glued to his phone, looking at it with such concentration, reading those paragraphs and looking at those diagrams. As we moved to the end of this program, there was an announcement. It was an announcement for the most hardworking person of my senior batch, and it was none other than the guys sitting right in front of me. As the NEET 2018 results were announced 6 months later, I saw what shocked me. There was a single name from our tuition classes who had got admission into a government medical college, AIIMS Nagpur. And that was this guy, Dr. Vinay Wankhede, who was the only guy from the batch of 300 who got a government medical college that year. That day, I realized that when everyone was enjoying the fest, this guy was studying. He sacrificed that to get a good rank now. And it impacted significantly in my thinking. If I was to get a good government medical college, if I wanted to come out of the pile of averages who just sat and enjoyed the show, who just worked like everyone else and enjoyed their daily life, I was not going to get a government medical college working like that. I was not going to score a good rank working like everybody else. I needed to become best version of myself and give my best in the exam. From that day onwards, there wasn't a single day when I scrolled my phone. I gave away my phone to my mom and told her that I will become a doctor for sure. The next story is about how I prepared for my NEET, how my schedule was. I have heard that some students have cleared NEET studying below a street lamp due to unavailability of resources. Some students have traveled with their bicycles miles to get a good internet connection and come back home and study the videos that they have downloaded there. I myself have batchmates who haven't joined any tuition, haven't joined any coaching, and with just self-study have cracked NEET and got into AIIMS Nagpur. Some of them even in their first attempt. I have encountered people who have given 3 or 4 tries. They have not stopped working hard and cracked NEET and came to AIIMS. Compared to them, my story is an easy one, but still I would like to share. It was the end of class 11th. I honestly didn't had studied much, but as the class 12 started, my study habits improved and I started studying regularly. My daily schedule included getting up 6 a.m. in the morning, meditating for a while and exercising a bit. After that, I revised the previous day topics and got ready for my tuition classes, which were at 9 a.m. in the morning. But I used to go at my tuitions half an hour late every day. I used to reach tuitions by 9:30 because I knew that sir won't start the class till 9:30, and sometimes he started it earlier and I got scolded a lot. From 9:30 to 12:30 we had lectures of physics and chemistry, followed by a half an hour break, followed by a 1.5 hour session of biology. Our tuition classes also had this new thing going on, that we had tests on a regular basis. Every day after our self-study session was over, there were some kind of test to keep our minds engaged. Either it was a subject-wise MCQ test, a topic-wise MCQ test, or all the 3 subjects combined MCQ test. And sometimes, I think twice weekly, there was a theory test making our writing skills stronger to appear for the board exams. I used to get free by 5:30 and then I rode my bicycle back to my home and eat snacks in a hurry because I had to go to the mathematics tuition, which was at 6 p.m. and it was 2 kilometers away from my home. I used to ride my bicycle in such a hurry to my tuition classes of mathematics that people in the way sometimes scolded me. Some of my relatives also noticed it and told me to drive it safely. By 7:30 in the evening, I used to reach back home, then rest for a while and have my dinner with my family. By 8:30 sharp, I would be seated in my chair with my desk in front of me and open the test books of class 11th and 12th. I used to read test books, solve hundreds of MCQs and revise that day's topics as well as previous day topics, and have a 2.5 hour study session regularly without a gap, followed by which I had a peaceful 7 hours sleep and wake up another day at 6 a.m. in the morning to repeat the same cycle again and again. I worked hard tirelessly for 365 days continuously without missing a single day. Whether it was my birthday, whether it was a function in our house, whether it was a function of Diwali, Dasera, Holi, it didn't matter at all. I used to study and study. I used to utilize every second that I was studying, and that, I think, was the best achievement that I achieved. People say that the fun is not in reaching the destination but one is going through the journey. Here, the journey was tiring, it was exhausting. It took my test in all the three aspects, mentally, physically and emotionally. But once I reached the destination, the journey mattered a lot. It was this hard work that led me to score such great marks and come to a prestigious medical college like AIIMS. The next story is about results. All the hard work, all my dedication and all my sacrifices meant nothing if I hadn't delivered in those results. But it is said that one who truly works hard, one who has put all his soul and energy and everything in something that he desires will surely get it. And I delivered in my results. I scored a 93.6% in my boards exam, coming first in my whole district in PCMB category. I also scored a 99% in JEE mains exam, which was enough for me to get any branch of engineering in any of the NITs all across India. Similarly, I scored 99.9 percentile in MST CET, which was enough for me to get admission into any engineering college all across Maharashtra in any branch, whether it may be COEP Pune, VJTI Mumbai or any of the top government engineering colleges. I was eligible to get admission in any of those. But the best was saved for last. In the AIIMS UG exam, I scored an All India rank of 1070 and got selected in AIIMS Nagpur. This is how an ordinary student got an extraordinary college like AIIMS Nagpur. I had this very peculiar habit of reading newspapers while I was having dinner. Throughout my class 11th and 12th, I used to have dinner while reading newspapers. My mom thought that I would become an IAS officer. When I was a child, I used to solve many mental ability books. I think that's the reason I got fondness in physics. I missed my JIPMER exam because I overslept that day and I got a beating for that. When the JEE mains results were announced, for a while I thought that I am really good at it and I should take engineering as my career. I didn't check my JEE advanced results because I still fear that I would have got a negative score back then. I still don't know what my results are. Just 1 month before the NEET exam, a bloody mosquito bit me and gave me dengue. Even though I wanted to study much more, due to the dehydration and exhaustion, I couldn't study at all. I shaved my head twice throughout the NEET journey to save time combing hair. I don't like people who watch my video completely but don't subscribe. If you don't want my curses occurring on you, please subscribe. 95% of the NEET aspirants who are not hardworking will watch this story, get inspired for a day and then forget it.